once we realize that we've been living our life trying to be validated or be the best or be perfect, be this, be that, and that's only our perceptions, our lies that we made up. Once we can let go of our lies and perception, you can then step in your power and live the life that you were truly meant to come here for, to lead a purposeful, happy life. And when you are being of service, this is the fastest way to be connected with your true authentic self and be happy. It's so rewarding when you do something good and you see the satisfaction on people's faces. It's lovely. So you can do that for yourself or humanity or the planet, the environment, because we're all connected. So
you got to accentuate the positive. Wow, I feel good. A little bit of feel good goes a long way.
You're listening to Karen Swain, teacher of deliberate creation, accentuating the positive, showing you a way to a better life.
Accentuating the positive, it's not just fad, it's sanity. Who in their right mind would accentuate anything else?
If you feel like that's what you want to do.
Hello and welcome to another show, Accentuating the Positive with Karen Swain. Always wonderful to be with you again. Today, I have the delicious Beverley Holt on the show. Welcome, Beverley.
thank you very much. It's such a great honor to be here on your show with you. Thank you.
And Beverley has her own podcast show, which I have been on, and she was just telling me that she's going to release that sometime before the end of the year, I suspect. But let me tell you a little bit about Beverley. She's in Australia, although she does have what's your accent? English accent. Welsh accent. Beverley Holt has lived in many countries and continues to travel when she can, wherever she is guided. She discovered her ability to channel at a very young age, and her mum, who was also clairvoyant, told her to keep it a secret. Beverley is a holistic entrepreneur with many feathers to her bow. Her mission is to empower women to be the best version of themselves. Beverley is an inspirational speaker and organizer of holistic events with exceptional speakers. And this is true. We've had a chat about the people that you've had in your events. She's a co-founder of Be Here Now Ladies in Monaco, which is one of the places that she was living in before Australia. Author of a collaborative best-selling book, Lady X, A Journey to Self-Love and Discovery. And your website is mywellnessspring.co. Well, where do we start? Where do we start, Beverley? Maybe when you were a kid. What was happening when your mum said, keep it a secret?
Because my mum used to, for example, she might say, call me by a different name. And I'm like, I'm not that person, and then we'd get a telephone call and that person be sick or something was going on. And, she was always having messages from people who had transcended. And I'd be like, who are you talking to? Oh, it's Auntie so-and-so, and I'd never met that person before. They were dead before I was alive. And like most children have imaginary friends, but what parents don't realize, they're actually speaking to the spirit world. We can all, when we're born, as you know, Karen, see spirits far more easily than we can the humans. We see them all around, and we don't realize that we're not our mother and we're not part of all that is. So there's a bit of a gap there and a bit of shock once we realize that we are separate. So I used to have my imaginary friend and, set a place for her at the table, and, we'd have lots and lots of fun. And then when we were going to school, my mother said, shh, don't say anything, because let it be a secret. And she said, everybody has secrets, so just keep it a secret, because she didn't want me to be bullied or people to think I was weird and things like that.
So apart from your little friend that you saw, what else were you perceiving as a child? And when your mum said, keep it a secret, did you start to sort of shut down your intuitive and psychic abilities?
I did, yes. However, at night time, I used to astral travel as well and go to different places. And, my sisters just thought that I was dreaming, but I was like, no, I went here and I saw this and I saw that and I blah, blah, blah. And apparently, since I was 6 years old, I always wanted to come to Australia. And I have a little birthmark on my leg, on my thigh. And in my perception of it, it's a map of Australia. But one of my great uncles was an admiral in the Navy, and he came to Australia. And I must have overheard them talking, but I was really, really fascinated and couldn't wait. And when I was old enough and doing geography and looking at the globe and checking it out and thinking, oh my God, it's literally the other side of the world. And that made it even more inviting for me to want to come. And it's funny, when I did eventually come here, I really felt like I'd come home, even
really?
though it was raining so badly, a bit like it has been lately. And the rain was bouncing up to my knees and I couldn't really settle, but it promoted me to travel around Australia and did the Greyhound bus tours and things like that. And when I went back, I was more settled within myself. And then after about 6 months, I said to my father, I'm going back to live in Australia and I know exactly where I want to live now. So.
How old were you when you first came out here?
I was 28. So
okay.
I'd gone from my hometown. Just to give you an idea, in Wales, when I was growing up, everybody's very protective of the children. Nobody used to travel. And, just for me to move from my hometown, Bridgend, to Swansea, another town, it was like, oh my God, she's left home, So I started off as a registered general psychiatric nurse and then did general nursing in Swansea, which was an amazing place to live. And then I went from there to Bermuda. I was going there for 1 year and then got delayed and then finally made my way to Australia.
Wow, what an exciting life. So you are a traveler, aren't you? But it sounds like you've always known that you've been here to be of service. Like you've always known that becoming a psychiatric nurse. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've always been fascinated by what makes people click, So I've done loads of other brain entrainment courses like Psych K and many other courses just to understand how people's mind works.
Yeah.
And so forth.
Psych K is amazing. I interviewed the founder, the creator, the guy that, downloaded the information because he talked, what's his name?
Rob Williams.
Williams. Oh, got it wrong. Yeah. Years ago, before I was podcasting, I'd love to have a chat to him again. He was such a lovely man. And I had all these, anyway, it was when I was doing radio. I don't even know where the recording is now, so many years ago, but Psych K is really interesting. But there's many technologies out there like that. So you felt at home in Australia, went back home, said to your dad, I'm moving back out here. And so did you live here for a long time or did you continue to travel?
Oh, I lived here for 20 years.
Okay.
And I started a health and wellbeing centre in Rose Bay called Holistic Harmony, and I had 20 staff. But it was really bizarre because everybody that worked there were either trained in Reiki, including 2 doctors, or they wanted me to teach them Reiki. So we had a really good mix of people, and I became known because I used to run events once a month to introduce the community what is mainline medicine and what is holistic medicine. So the Ayurveda doctor would talk and a general medicine doctor would talk, or we'd have a physiotherapy, because a lot of people don't know, if you have an accident, should I see a doctor, a sports medicine doctor, physio, a chiropractor, and so an osteopath and so forth. So I got local members in the community who were experts in what they did to explain all this. And I had naturopaths and homeopaths and various people, and they would explain what they did. You know, even with massage, you know, there's so many different styles of massage, so that people could understand what they were getting, what would happen in a treatment and the benefits. So, and we do a fundraiser for a battered ladies' home, and they would appear on the night. So we charge a small fee to come in, and all that money went to the battered ladies' home. So it was really good.
What made you close down the Holistic Health Centre?
Well, I've got passion for sailing, and my partner is a professional sailor, and he's raced around the world. And we were celebrating his 40th birthday in Brisbane. I've done 5 Sydney to Hobart races, and I've raced up and down the coast as well. And then we got a phone call from a friend of his that I used to do the Kookaburra racing on in Sydney Harbour. And he said, would you like to come to France? And by the way, it's not a temporary delivery, it's a permanent job. And we were inspired, but I'd just been nominated for Telstra Women in Business Awards. And I was like, oh no, can't go, no, you know. And by the end of the weekend, it was like, oh my God, I've just got to go, because I get so much nudges from the universe. So whether it's in my dream or my intuition, you know, I call it my GPS, my great personal soul speaks to me, and it's like, okay, I'm going. However, I couldn't do the delivery because I was so busy at work, and I arranged to meet them on Nectar Island because the job would have been for Sir Richard Branson. But my partner did the delivery, and there were so many things wrong with the boat, what we'd call a red herring. He decided not to work on the boat, but the seed had been planted, and it was like, okay, I'll get someone to run the business and we'll go traveling for a year. But people were freaking out, saying, oh no, it's too busy, I couldn't cope with the responsibility. So then I got the message to sell the business so I could have complete freedom. And that's what we did. And the rest is history.
As they say, the rest is history. Yeah, so you traveled around Europe for a while, and you landed in Monaco, right? You landed in the south of France.
Yeah.
How long did you live there?
We got jobs on various boats, and I worked with my husband for 3 years in different countries. And the best was going from Mallorca to through the Suez Canal and to the Red Sea and to Israel, and we were based there for 6 months.
Wow.
With Monaco, we'd had a job in France with an Irish billionaire for about 5 months, and we thought, oh, this is nice, because we'd been in Mallorca and we'd been in France, and we thought we'll buy a investment property over here and just come here each year for a holiday, because we still hadn't thought we were going to move there. And before we knew it, my partner said, I think the universe wants you to stay in France. So we started in France. And then after about 3 years, we got a big nudge to go to Monaco. And that's when I was promoting all the holistic speakers. So I started a holistic professional network and in France, and then I took it with me to Monaco. And then
Monaco is a separate country to France, right? So it's its own country, isn't it? Monaco is its own country.
Yeah. It's its own country. It's a principality. So over the years, you know, Italy owned Monaco and also Nice, which is the next big town to Monaco. So it's a principality, and Prince Albert is the monarch there.
Monarch, yeah.
Yeah.
Is he still alive? He is.
He's definitely alive.
How he married Grace Kelly.
You're thinking of Prince Rainer.
Oh, am I? I got it wrong.
Prince Rainer married Grace Kelly,
and he died. Prince Rainer. Okay, and so who succeeded him? His son.
His son Albert.
Okay.
He's married to Charlene Whitstock, who they both have twins. His wife is South African.
Mm-hmm.
and she used to be a Olympic swimmer, and they got married and had twins. Sorry, I didn't explain it well. So they
okay.
had children. Yeah.
Right.
So
Bit of European gossip here.
Yeah, he's 63 now, so, and his wife is 43. She's absolutely gorgeous, and a lot of people think she looks like Princess Grace Kelly. She's absolutely stunning. Yeah.
I'll have to look her up after we'd finished talking. But when you were putting on your events in Monaco, you were kind of hanging around with that set of people, weren't you? Like the sort of people that were coming to the events. Did she come to any of your events?
Not really, no, but we did celebrate the rugby, the World Cup, when South Africa beat in a local bar there called Slammers. So Princess Charlene was there, and bizarrely her husband was in South Africa, but Charlene and her brother were in the bar, and she was pouring drinks, and she bought us all a drink to celebrate as well.
Oh, lovely. So what amazed me about your work in Monaco is that you were putting on speakers that were talking about consciousness to like the sort of high flyers. And I often think that people with a lot of money are not really interested in that stuff because, they got money, they got things to do. They don't sort of sit and meditate and think about the state of the world or the state of their world, So how did that come about?
Well, I was friendly with a lady called Kate Powers, who's recently transcended, and she owned a place called Stars and Bars. And she would ask me to go there. She knew about my events in Nice, and she came to lots of my events. And she said, why don't you bring the speakers here to Monaco, and you can do them in Stars and Bars? So before I knew it, I was doing lots of events there. And we'd also do fun social events. So every Australia Day, we would have a big party, one of the biggest parties in her bar. We got to about 350, 400 people upstairs, and we created an inside-outside party. So we'd have a barbecue, rolling food, and we'd have a DJ, and we'd have a big screen up. And Annette Anderson, the bar manager, was so creative, and we'd put together, Brian would downloads of Aussie music, and we'd do the fireworks from New Year's Eve, and we'd put those up on the screen because they were always spectacular, and just dancing and everybody dressing up in the Aussie costumes. So we had a group called Monacosis, so it was to connect Australians living in Monaco with Monegasque people and business people. And because a lot of people live in Monaco, have made their money, they don't need to work. And there's loads of amazing athletes living there, like Tiffany Cromwell, the cyclist, and Dave Tanner, and the racing car drivers and so forth. They're all living there. So they don't need to make money. And a lot of them didn't know each other. So we did events, and we're introducing some of these together. And then the government found out that we were doing a lot of events with Australians, and we had a really amazing art exhibition with Aboriginal arts from Torres Strait Islands. And these artists, it was their first time to leave their tiny little suburb, let alone get a plane and come to another country.
Wow.
And we had this art exhibition for 6 months.
Wow.
So the Monegasque people and people living there got to meet all these Aboriginal artists and the art promoter, and it was truly spectacular. It took many months to fix it. They even had like a giant crab on the building of the museum because it was in the Oceanographic Museum. So it was just incredible, and they had loads of events. So they would ask me to invite Australians to all these different events. And there was a really good Australian, it's a magical story, Alex Luther. He was farmed out in different orphanages and foster homes because his mum and dad couldn't look after him. The parents had separated. And then one time, coming to the age of 30, he found a scrapbook in his mum's house, and he said, "Who's that man?" His grandfather had been a world champion monoskier and did a trip 13,000 miles and ended up in Italy and Monaco. And Prince Rainier had actually given him a medal, and they did the sabrage, where you hold a bottle of champagne and you hold the saber, the sword, and hit off the cork. So he wanted to trace his grandfather's footsteps, and he'd never ever been on a ski. So he had to do a lot of training, big lesson. And he came, and Prince Albert honored him, met him, and they did the sabrage exactly the same. So it was incredible. So yeah, we were blessed to be able to work with the government and keep the Monaco, Australia alive, you know, the connections.
What did you call them? The Monacosis, the Monacosis.
Yeah, Monacosis. So
that's hilarious.
So we wanted to do a pun on the beachwear here in Australia.
Oh, right, yeah.
Australians are called Aussies, but we did it like Cozies. So we had the word Monaco and just put ZZIES on the end.
The Monacosis, that's hilarious. Wow, it made me cry when you talked about bringing the Indigenous art, you know, across the world. Because there was, you know, there was so much more happening than people just looking at nice art. You know, they were bringing this culture and what it stands for, you know, into a society that is so materialistically focused, and yet, bringing that earth energy into that, made me cry when you talked about that. Wow, yeah, I still feel very teary, actually. Wow, what amazing work you've been doing, darling one. Honestly, just beautiful. So
basically, Monaco is a very religious Catholic, strict Catholic country. So up until recently, you know, anything that wasn't medical wasn't allowed. So for example, I had a friend who's a Chinese medicine doctor, grew up there, but because it's not mainstream, she had to work in France on the border. So I could promote speakers, but as a Reiki master and teacher, I couldn't work there. I could only get talks and events, and we couldn't, and the government are really strict. They do the background checks on people. And fortunately, when we brought Nassim Haramein over, the manager of Café de Paris, where we had the event, follows Nassim and absolutely adores him. So a lot of people might be more consciously aware and more in the now, but they wouldn't talk about it. So it's all like, you know, hush hush, if you want, for a better word. And the same when I went to France, it was like going back about 100 years, because they didn't, when I tried to insure myself for Reiki, they said, well, we don't have it. We got something called Sophology. You can do that. And I was like, no, I'm not doing that. I don't even know what that is. So I actually got insured in England to cover me in different countries.
What did they call it? Sophology?
Sophrology, yeah.
What's that?
It's particular in France, and it's like a mixture of energy healing, meditation, and psychology and creativity. So it's a whole band.
Wow.
That's very popular there, but
So darling one, you've been traveling the world, spreading consciousness in the mainstream world. How wonderful. Waking people up. Wonderful. So you started the events in Nice and then moved them to Monaco. And tell us about the speakers. Like, you had some amazing speakers. So you said Nassim Haramein, who I just adore, you know, the new physicist. He's like a genius.
Yeah. People have compared him to the next Einstein.
Oh, yeah.
He is incredible, as you know.
Yeah, he is. And we tried to book him for an online conference, but we couldn't get it. We couldn't get anywhere near him. He's so booked out. I think he's booked out for speaking events. And for years, and yeah, and he can command a lot of money. So how long ago was that you had him?
That's only 2 years ago, just before the first COVID lockdown, and we did have plans to do a huge conference with Dr. Bruce Lipton, Dr. Joe Dispenza, and Greg Braden, bring them all there and to be the first like big conference there. But you know, with you can't travel, and with restaurants and everything closing down, maybe in a few years, let's see. And
okay,
the
so
world is changing. Yes,
yeah, the world is changing. It absolutely is. So you didn't manage to get that one up and running with Bruce and Joe Dispenza, and that one didn't,
it's literally
because of COVID.
before,
Mm.
yeah, literally just before the first lockdown, when we were trying to sort out dates and things like that. And as you know, I came here for thinking it was going to be maximum 3 months, and it's now 1 year ago and 2 days that we've been in Australia.
So you came back down under because of COVID, because of lockdowns?
Yeah, because the lockdowns were very strict. You had 1 hour to do a 5K radius, and we'd carry an attestation, which is like a piece of paper to show the time you left and where you're going.
Wow.
Or you put it in your mobile phone and they could track you. So everybody was locked down, not like in Australia, well, in Sydney, where it was only a couple of suburbs, you know.
Yeah, everyone was locked in for a while. Wasn't just a couple of suburbs. Must have been before you came back down under. But right. Yeah, I mean, Victoria has had Victoria, Melbourne has had the worst lockdowns, but yeah, they locked us all in for a while. I didn't pay any attention to it because I don't if I don't need to go anywhere, I don't go anywhere. I just go to the shop or go to the beach, just walk around my suburb. So it didn't bother me, but it did affect a lot of people. Yeah, it was really interesting how people responded to it. So you came back because of the lockdowns, and you're going to stay? Or?
Also because Brian's family are elderly. They're in their 80s and quite frail. And his dad actually had 2 near-death experiences post the COVID jabs. So fortunately, he's fine, but it has made him get very, very forgetful.
So when you say near-death experiences, what happened to him?
Well, his mum is a registered nurse, or was a registered nurse, and they'd finished their evening meal, and they were just sitting, chatting, relaxing, and she got up to get something. She heard a bang, and she's seen him with his head on the table, and he'd gone completely grey. She checked his pulse, no breath. So she started doing resuscitation, and at the same time called the ambulance, the emergency number. So they came. He was in hospital for a week. They did all the tests on his brain and heart and so forth, couldn't find anything. And they went out, after a week, and everything was fine. And then when he had his second injection, a few days later, similar happened.
He just kind of like dropped dead, bang.
Yeah.
And then they resuscitated him again. God.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to leave, does he?
No, it's
sorry, I shouldn't laugh, but he likes being alive, or he likes being in physical. So
he likes being in the physical.
So he literally died for a bit. Did he say what happened to him? Like, did he have any?
He just said that he just felt like he was having a sleep and everything was light and fun. And the funniest thing was, though, he reckoned that he had a peppered steak, which was so delicious, in the hospital. And he said the nurse took him to the cafe and he had this most delicious meal. And of course, that's not true. But to this day, he was very disappointed when he went into hospital a second time and they served him such disgusting food. So but I did try and get more information about, so can you remember falling on the table? Can you remember getting in the ambulance? Did you see anything? Did you see any lights? Because, they know I do the healings. And he's like, can't remember, but I just know I felt blissful. And wherever I was, I didn't want to come back. It was so lovely.
Oh, how lovely. Yeah, it sounds like he was out of his body having an astral experience, went to the cafe with the nurse. That's hilarious.
Yes.
And had a great steak. Pepper steak. Oh, wow.
And the other reason why we came back, so that was the main reason. And the main reason we came here when you had the terrible fires. So the year before,
Right.
I was crying and I could feel all the animals' pains, all the death and the destruction of the trees. I was every day sending healings to the trees and the animals and just to all the people involved and things like that. And I didn't have a good experience here at all. And just breathing in all that acrid smoke, and it was disgusting. We were in Sydney and Melbourne. And it's recently, we just drove through Malakuta. So we're 2 years on, and it's so bizarre. The trees are standing like tall sticks and bits of fern, new growth on the top. So part of it, you can see where the fire hit, and you go around another corner and the trees are normal and healthy, and go another corner. So the fire was obviously a lot hotter in some areas than the other, but just seeing all the blackness of the tree, but naked trees, they've changed, they look completely, it's so bizarre. But my heart was bleeding and for Mother Earth and sending loads of healing. And we got back on Australia Day, just before Australia Day, to do our parties. And I said to Kate, oh my God, I can feel Mother Earth crying. There's much more going on. And everybody thought I was just upset about what had happened in Australia. And I was like, no, I can feel Mother Earth crying. And of course, then we had COVID, because COVID is the lungs, the water. And I was saying to everyone, I can feel the water on the planet crying, And when we're talking about other speakers, my most favorite one was the Barefoot Doctor. And his real name is Stephen Russell. And he transcended on Australia Day, the day we got back. And we'd planned to do loads of things together. He had a place in Spain where he was currently living then. And he was doing retreats. I was going there in May, and we were going to do podcasts and different things together, and loads of workshops together. And I was just like blown away, because the year before I actually had 10 deaths in the family. My niece died of cancer. My brother-in-law had ringing in the ear. They found eventually he had a massive heart attack, and he had a near-death experience. So he came back around and he explained, he could see light and angels and things like that. Anyway, it wasn't time for him to leave. He lived another month and stayed. But the Barefoot Doctor was truly magical. And, he opened so many hearts and souls in Monaco.
He was English, wasn't he?
Yes.
I think Clara, my friend who has another show called Chi Time in the UK, I think she talked to me about him. I never had him on my show, but she used to say, oh, he's fabulous, get him on your show. She always used to talk about him, but I never saw. So he transitioned how long ago? A year and a half ago?
2 years ago.
2 years ago.
Australia Day. So
at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, it was a great loss, but a friend channeled, because when he was a young boy, he was a wild child and wanted to fight, because his father was a boxer, came from a very wealthy family. And when they expelled him from school, or threatened to expel him, his father said, look, I want to introduce you to a man. He's a very famous Japanese man, and he did Aikido. So at 13, he thought, oh yeah. And the Japanese guy said, punch me in the stomach. You can do better than that. And he's at 13 was much bigger than this guy. He's punching. And he's like, wow, he doesn't even flinch. I want to learn that, And then he went on to be a shaman and traveled the world. He always learned from the top people in their profession. But as a child, he had that experience of oneness and all that is, and could feel the energy in music. He was so excited. So he could be, with another dimension instantly
Mm.
and connect with all that is. And he became famous for the book he wrote, The Urban Warrior. And I asked him about, well, how long did it take you to write it? And he went, oh, I hate writing. He said, I go to Wales, go to this lovely cottage I rented each time, and I do nothing. I write for 19 hours a day, and I have a few cups of teas and a bit of sandwiches to eat, and that's it. But he would write all his books in 3 weeks solid.
How old was he when he transitioned? Was he
66?
Oh, so he was young. He was not old.
Yeah.
Wow, he was obviously done here. He was obviously finished.
Yeah, a friend channeled him, and he said that he'd been offered to come back in the near future.
Yeah, he's coming back. He just said he dropped the body because he's going to take on a new body, new crystalline body, new physical body.
Oh, wow.
But, you know, with the fires, I had a chat to Mother Gaia about the fires, and she did not cry over the fires. You know what she said to me? She said, I love my fires. I love my fires. And I said, why do you love them? She says, it clears out all the old debris. It just clears out everything. And she said to me, if only you humans could learn to love the fires in your life like I love my fires. And I was like, wow. Yes.
I've got goosebumps.
Right. Sometimes our life burns down, right? And my daughter was caught up in the fires. Her little house burnt down, her property. She was on a communal, some land with some other young people trying to create this communal, sustainable, you know, living off the grid type lifestyle. And the fire came through Cobargo, which was like it burnt down pretty much. They were just behind Cobargo. The girl that she lived with was so excited. She was building a tiny house, and she'd spent about 35,000 on just getting the frame up, and she was just about to complete this tiny house, and the fire just burnt to the ground. But interestingly enough, since then her life has changed dramatically. It was a fire that literally came through her life, but it changed her and her life dramatically, and for the better. You know, it was tragic at the time, but just like Mother Gaia said, you know, learn to love the fires in your life. When everything burns down, it clears out all the old debris. And renewal.
Yeah, that really resonates with me, and I've got goosebumps. And also, I know from cousins living in New Zealand, when they had the volcanoes, when you have disasters, it brings the community together. Everybody pulls together. You know,
that's amazing. I'm very teary today, Beverley. Your energy I'm tuning into. Very sensitive soul you are. Oh, wow. So the barefoot doctor, he transitioned. So what are you doing now, darling one? You're here in Australia. What's happening?
Yeah, we kept thinking we were going back to France, so we didn't make any plans. So we did our quarantine in the Gold Coast, hung out with some friends in Brisbane, and then we went to Melbourne to visit Brian's parents and friends. And while I was in lockdown, I started doing weekly wellness circles because I was doing them in France and they were very successful. Just, you know, reassuring people, look, you're not on your own. We're all in this together, and it's a global thing, you know, and just helping them to connect through their breath, to connect with the love inside. And I was teaching them about breathing and wearing masks, and then just doing breathing meditations and just giving them lots of wellness tips. And I've continued to do it. So I still thought I was going back, and before the time change, it was good. We were having French people and Australians together and people all over Europe. So it was really lovely bringing a global online community together and people sharing stories.
Yeah.
And we just had this, I had the message to buy some land here and do echo retreats. So we left Melbourne. We knew it was like 1 week into lockdown in Sydney, but we thought it's not going to be long and we won't tell our friends. We'll go driving in the car, and because I feel like going up north, find some land. And then we were there for 16 weeks. And then during that 16 weeks, it was like, you've got to buy a van, a camper van, and go in style. So in the meantime, my husband made a dinghy from scratch. So we thought we can travel around the harbour because we're living right on the water and be free. And then we bought this van. So it's not complete, but we've jumped in the van and we're heading to Melbourne as we speak. So now we're in a lovely town called Locksport. And when we were here earlier in the year, I was like a child. I was so excited. A kangaroo came in the front garden and he comes here every day. And the birds, I was like, oh my God, the cockatoo, the lorikeets, the galas, you know.
Absolutely.
We call my friend the Birdman. And since we were in 16-week lockdown, we went for a nature walk every day. I was meditating in nature, connecting with Mother Earth. And it was like, I've come back home again. This is where I'm meant to be, you know, just helping people. So I've had big messages that I really got to help people to connect with Mother Earth and connect to the true soul living inside them, you know, to really connect. So now is the time for oneness and building a life with compassion and caring and respect for yourself and respect for the whole of humanity, and most importantly, respect for Mother Earth. There's been too much pollution, you know.
So what did you learn from, you know, putting on all these events with these amazing speakers?
Oh, I learned something from each of them.
Yeah.
And I was just surprised how many different cultures and different backgrounds of people came. And again, it's the same message. It's about being true to yourself, being your true authentic self. And Monaco is not only about glamour and glitz, you know, there are some truly wonderful people living there, and they do truly amazing causes, like Prince Albert is looking after our oceans, and this is our connection between Australia and here, helping to keep our oceans free. And there's lots of people doing, Monaco is probably nicknamed the country of charities, so nearly everyone is doing a charity. A lot of people, the husbands are working, the women, you know, don't need to work, and they're doing charities, you know, to help really good causes. So that's really lovely as well. And yeah, I think all the speakers are telling us, stand in your power, you know, be true to yourself. That was the main message from all of them. And listen to your intuition, your gut feeling, and go with the flow. You know, we're not here to be people pleasers. Don't care what people think about you. You know, doesn't matter how you dress. And I think since I've been here, because in Monaco, everybody did dress up. And to be honest, it was fun. It gave you something to look forward to and to dress up and be in that energy as well. And since I've been here, living 16 weeks and now in a camper van, I don't think I'll be putting my lovely dresses on. We've just had them sent out. It's taken 4 months. And because we're traveling, we couldn't wait any longer, because with the strikes in the dock and, you know, containers are backloaded. And finally, we got a message on Friday saying, oh, so you can come and pick up, or we can deliver your container, and we're on the road. We're like, well, can you keep it for a while, because we're not sure when we're going to be back in Sydney. So I think our dresses, well, my dresses and Brian's dinner jackets are going to be in the container for a long while yet. And we're just going to be free spirits and listen to our gut feeling, go with the flow, and see where we're meant to be. And I think I'll probably end up doing pop-up meditations in nature and things like that.
You know, Beverley, during this time of shift, I think that's all we can really do. Everyone has plans. You know, our mutual friend wanted to start a centre here in Sydney. He opened it up and lockdowns shut him down. And, you know, there's that great saying, do you want to know how to make God laugh? Tell her your plans. Yeah, all we can do in this time of great shift, because we're right in the thick of it, right in the middle of this changeover, transition period from one world, one set of systems to another. All we can do is be in this moment and just show up in this moment and not worry too much about plans. I've had a lot of plans and I haven't moved on them, on many of them, until I felt like the time was right. And years have gone by and I've said to my mom, so when am I supposed to do that? And they said, not yet, because it just hasn't been the right time, because we're in this sort of transition period. And I think next year, 2022, will reveal a lot of stuff. Lots of things are going to change next year. Next year is going to be huge. We thought 2020 and 21 was big. Next year is going to be huge. So all you can do is like show up, be in the moment, live in a camper van, live in a camper van, go to the beach.
Yeah. And to be honest, I was so relieved when we had our first lockdown in France and Monaco, because it meant I didn't have to race back and forth the two places or different places like Cannes. I used to do events there as well. And it was time to just slow down and have me time. And I think here in Australia as well, they're sort of behind the rest of the world with the lockdowns. But it's been a wonderful opportunity for people to recreate themselves. A lot of jobs no longer exist, a lot of businesses and so forth. However, there's thriving businesses. People are doing those picnic parties and so much more. You, instead of being a people pleaser and doing what your parents wanted you to do, or your spouse and your peers, you can be creative and do what you want to do and be the change you want the world to be.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, lots of people. Yeah. Well, as Mother Gaia said to me 2 years ago, learn to love the fires. We are going through a fire, a fire of, it's burning down the old systems. And when people lose jobs and lose money and lose what they know, they get upset. But just listening to Mother Gaia, learn to love the fires. It's like it burns down everything you know, but then there is this renewal. And after the fires, the Australian fires a couple of years ago, I went down to visit my girlfriend who lives down near where they're all happening down the coast, a few hours down the coast of Sydney, and drove through so much country driving down there. And the trees were so happy, like they had fur all the way up their trunks, like fur, like green, it looked like green fur. When they burnt, they were just these stark black, nothing. Yeah. And then a couple of months later, they just went with this renewed growth. And then a few months after that, it was just incredible, the renewal of growth. And I really got what she was saying, learn to love the fires, because it burns out the old and clears the way for the new. And we are going through this global fire right now. And what you can do is, be in the moment, go to the beach.
Exactly.
For the people that are listening to this on the other side of the world, can't go to the beach at the moment because it's winter, but build snowmen. Sit by the fire. Yeah,
it's funny. Someone asked me, what would my tips be for Christmas, because a lot of people haven't got money and so forth. And I just said, spend quality time with whoever you want to be and just laugh and have some fun.
Absolutely.
You might be sick of seeing them. You might have had 16 weeks with them. So go outdoors, if you're able to go outdoors, but just do some fun things, because the best gift you can give to anyone is your time.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
be fully present and listen. So think outside the box and do some silly games and charades, or, the best things in life are free. Just go outside and breathe and be in nature and just enjoy.
Yeah, exactly. And this coming from someone who is, dressed up in your ball gowns with the rich and the famous. Absolutely, darling one. So let's talk about your podcast show. What's the name of your podcast show?
mywellnessspring.co.
And where can people find it? Just on your website? Is it?
It's on my website, and it's also on iTunes, and it's on
YouTube.
YouTube.
Yeah. And it's more holistically health focused. It's kind of different to my show, which is more about everything. Well, I started it to talk about deliberate creation, which we've talked about today. Every conversation has the recipe for how to be deliberate in your creation. Get happy, be in the moment, get happy, stay in the moment, appreciate what you have, learn to love the fires. But yours is more about holistic health, and you interview a lot of health practitioners, right?
Yeah, I interview health practitioners and also exceptional people. Like I was blessed to interview Eddie Jaku, the Holocaust survivor.
Oh, wow.
And he was so inspiring and still driving at 101.
Wow.
You know. And Alex Luther, the athlete I mentioned, who did the monoski for 13,000 miles around Europe, Africa, Monaco, Italy. And quite a few athletes, because a lot of them, like Paula Radcliffe, the world marathon champion who held the record for 16 years, she's now gone on to do amazing work with Clean Air and many other charities. And she started something called Family on Track, bringing families together. So even if you don't run a marathon, you could run one track or walk, or, you know, be pushed in a wheelchair, which she started up in her hometown in England. And now she will bring that to Monaco as well. They're redeveloping Monaco, so we'll have a huge area, you know. So it's, the message is about community and unity.
Community and unity.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is, I think, you met Alex, right, from Unity Fest, or did you meet Joe from Love Fest first?
Joe from Love
Fest, yeah. Right. Because Joe's also involved in Unity Fest, community and unity, their catch cry. Yeah, community and unity. And is there any last message you'd like to share with people before we say goodbye?
Just to be their true authentic self, and keep doing the work on yourself to let go of negative beliefs, negative programming, because most of our programming started from the age of conception till 6. And once you let go of that and realize that you're living, for example, if you don't think you're good enough from the age of 0 till 2, it's when we have our mother love, when we're breastfed and loved and nurtured. And if that didn't happen, we're seeking love and to be loved. And then the Mayans used to take people to the top of the mountain at 2 to see how to bring love into the world. So it's, once we realize that we've been living our life trying to be validated or be the best or be perfect, be this, be that, and that's only our perceptions, our lies that we made up. Once we can let go of our lies and perception, you can then step in your power and live the life that you were truly meant to come here for, to lead a purposeful, happy life. And when you are being of service, this is the fastest way to be connected with your true authentic self and be happy. It's so rewarding when you do something good and you see the satisfaction on people's faces. It's lovely. So you can do that for yourself or humanity or the planet, the environment, because we're all connected. So keep breathing, keep smiling, and be yourself.
Beautiful. What a beautiful message. Thank you so much for being on the show. It's been gorgeous
to
chat
Karen.
with you.
Thank you. It was wonderful being with you as always.
Wonderful conversation with the gorgeous Beverley. There's so much more to that woman. We could have chatted all day, Beverley and I. She's had an amazing life and continues to. An amazing life. Met some incredible people, traveling the world, doing her work. Light worker, traveling the world, doing her work. Just because you're a light worker doesn't mean that you have to live on Skid Row. You can still do your energy work or your light work and live a life of luxury, as Beverley's proven. Although she's got the van, her and her husband are renovating the van and traveling around Australia in the van. I think that's hilarious. Good on her. Good on her. So I will stay tuned to see what Beverley does next. You know, she's Yeah, stay tuned. An eco village. That sounds nice. Having events in an eco village. That sounds good. She's got to find some land. Anyway, it'll be interesting. I actually see her going back to Europe in the next couple of years, maybe not to live, but definitely to reconnect to her connections over there, and maybe put on some more events. So for the next couple of years, things are going to be topsy-turvy, but they'll settle down by 23, end of 2023. Things will settle down and we can start planning again. We can start organizing things again. As I said to Beverley on the show, my guides gave me a vision to do something in Sydney, because I wondered why life had brought me back into the city when I'd moved out. I only moved an hour away, but I was living up on the northern beaches, overlooking the beaches. Oh, the beaches are so beautiful up there, and loving every minute of it, I have to say. And then life brought me back into the city. I said, okay, I'll stay in the city for 6 months, live in the city for a year, just reconnect to the city, and then I'll move back out again. And like, nope, you're staying here. Set me up here, put me in a 3-story house and right near the beach, and just set me up very nicely. The universe is looking after me. And I'm like, right, I'm supposed to stay in the city. Why am I here? And so they gave me this vision, but years ago. And I thought, well, I'll act on it when I get the impulse to act. And I haven't. And I said to them, why haven't I got the impulse to act? I don't feel like acting on it yet. And they said, not time yet, not time yet. So I was listening to another psychic speak about this on another show. I can't remember who it was, because I listened to a few, people. And as I'm wandering around the house, cooking, washing dishes, whatever, vacuuming, I've always got something going on in the background. And I remember hearing someone say, when you're given a download or a vision from your guides, it doesn't mean that you have to act on it like immediately. Like, you're given this vision, because they kind of live outside time and space. They sort of give you the vision, and then your job is to build on the vision, like ask questions about it. Why, what, tell me more, give me more, and then wait for that impulse to act. And that's exactly what I've been doing. I've been waiting for the and it's been years. It's been 8-9 years since I received this vision. And I said to them a couple of years ago, when am I supposed to do this thing? They said 2022. And then COVID hit, and it would have been impossible to actually create the vision that they gave me during this time of COVID, with lockdowns and everything in Australia especially. And I thought, wow, isn't that interesting? So instead of, and I've got friends that when they see, they get creative ideas, they run out and try and make it happen. And I've got a friend that does that, and he's doing amazing work, but he's sort of pushing again. He's like always pushing to make stuff happen, instead of just being guided, being in that flow and acting when you feel the impulse to act. It's interesting. A friend said to me a couple of years ago, do you want to come and we're going to go and clear some energy and activate and download codes and, do all this sort of stuff in a place an hour or so south from me, and where a cemetery was, or where there was some bad energy or something happened in the history. And I said, no, that's not the work I do in this world. Not coming. Sounds like a fun day. But that morning I woke up and I kept thinking about him asking me, and I thought, maybe I shouldn't have said no. And that morning I woke up and I'm getting dressed, and I'm like, what? Why am I getting dressed? Why am I putting on this? Kind of like I'm in automatic. And it's like, you're going. So I went. I just felt this impulse to go. I rang up, I said, I'm coming. I had no idea why I was there, what I was there to do, but just listened and acted accordingly. Yeah, listening to that guidance and acting on it. We have free will. We can say no, which I have often, I have to say. I remember when I was young, I used to drive a motorbike when I was a naturopathic student. When I was 23, 24, 25. I can't remember how old I was. And I thought I was pretty cool. But anyway, I was at my boyfriend's place, and I wanted to go home. It was a cold night. I didn't feel like getting on the bike. It was only, a few streets away. And I said, can I take your car home tonight? And I'll bring it back in the morning. I just don't feel like being on the bike tonight. I just didn't want to I just didn't feel like it. I remember I got in his car and I was driving past my bike, and I had this really big impulse to get on that bike and take it home, get on that bike and take it home. But my desire for more comfort to just be in the car overrode the impulse, like I had this absolute knowing that I should take my bike home that night. Anyway, 4 o'clock in the morning, I got a call from the police. My bike was stolen, and they found it like hours out of Sydney. But they found it, and then I had to go the next day and pick it up. Yeah, and I remember thinking, wow, I got the message and I didn't listen. It was a really powerful message to listen to those impulses, listen over comfort. Like, it was more comfortable for me to be in the car. Maybe it was wet, maybe it was raining, than to get on the bike in the rain. But I got the message and I didn't listen because I let comfort override the message. Anyway, I don't know why I'm raving on about this now. Here we are raving. Listen to your impulses. And if you're not impulsed to act, then don't act. Relax, go to the beach, have a sleep, pat the cat, meditate. Yeah, listen for the impulses. I was just saying to Beverley, this will be the second last show I do for this year. I've got one more person and then I'm finished for the year. I'm going to take a couple of weeks off over Christmas and New Year doing the shows. We're still online every week with my Inner Sanctum group. Next year, I'm opening up the Inner Sanctum for guest speakers to the public for anyone to join. I'll probably do them live online and invite people via Zoom link to join us to meet virtually on Zoom, the guest speakers. So I'll do that once, maybe twice a month, and see how I feel. I do them once, maybe twice a month now, but I'm online every week with my tribe teaching. But instead of doing weekly sessions, I'm going to turn those weekly sessions into courses. It's going to cost a lot more, but it's going to be more impact, shorter, with homework. It'll be more like my programs that I do one-on-one with people, except in groups. And it'll be less expensive than my private sessions, but more expensive than what I've been doing in the Inner Sanctum. So things are changing up next year. And so I invite you all to come and join the Inner Sanctum, because it'll be free or by donation. I shouldn't say free, by donation, because it would be nice to support the work that we're doing if you feel to, but it's not mandatory, and just open it up to the public with the guest speakers. What I've been doing now is just inviting my online tribe who pay to be a part of the Inner Sanctum. It's not much. It's like $5 or $6 US per session. It's pretty cheap. And about $8 Australian per session to join. It's like $39 a month or less if you pay annually or half yearly, much less. Anyway, I'll stop that and just start doing courses and just open it up by donation, a bit like the shows. The shows are free, of course, but you're always welcome to send some donations if you're benefiting from the shows and learning stuff. I never actually ask for money, and I rarely get donations, but every now and then somebody sends me $20, $25, sometimes $50. So I do appreciate it when you do send me some money for all the work I put into the shows, because the shows take up a big chunk of my week instead of actually doing courses or sessions with people. So next year I'm going to change it up a bit and probably spend less time on the shows, more time doing courses. And things are shifting next year. It's going to be fun. Another fun year. There's lots of change happening next year. 2022. It's going to be a big year. They said that to me about 2020. Yeah, hold on to your hats, kids. It's going to be a fun ride, is what they said to me at the end of 2019. Which I thought was fun. I had no idea what they were talking about. Little did I know. Then the fires, then COVID, fun ride, hold on to your hat, kids. It's going to be, I mean, they're kind of my words, but that's how I interpreted the message that I get. Hold on to your hat, kids. It's going to be a fun ride, which I think is hilarious. But what I see happening in 2022 is different to 2020 and 2021. Yeah. Anyway, it's going to be quite transformative. Okay, and lots of transitioning. They're telling me lots of death next year. Death in that people just finished in this matrix. A bit like what Beverley said about the barefoot doctor. People dropping their body, like 66 is still quite young, especially for a holistic practitioner, right? You're supposed to live forever when you're healthy. But people, this is what William Linville said in the last Inner Sanctum session we had, and I've uploaded the highlights to that. he said that a lot of people are dropping the body because they're coming back to be a part of this change, but they're taking on new crystalline structured bodies and coming in with no karma. So they've been working on their karma and they've resolved their karma in the current body. And then they're just dropping the, death. There is no death. There is just finishing an experience to move on to another experience, whether that is another physically focused experience or spiritually focused experience. So there is no death. So there will be lots of transitioning next year with people choosing to drop the body for the purpose of moving on to a new experience, whether that's coming back into another physical structure, physical body, or moving on. Yeah, but we are in this time of great transitioning. And there will be many people transitioning next year, which looks sad and looks like death, but it doesn't have to be. No more guest teachers this year into the Inner Sanctum, but I have started booking people in for next year. As I say, I'm going to do a separate recording all about that. I don't know who I've got booked in as yet. Who have I got kicking off next year for the Inner Sanctum? Geraldine Orozco. My friend Geraldine will be our first guest in mid-January, so 15th, 16th of January. And I will probably do that live on Zoom, which will stream on both Facebook and YouTube, and invite people. If you want to come and join us, you're welcome to come and join us. You don't have to be join the Inner Sanctum tribe. You're welcome to come and join us. I'll send you the Zoom link if you want to come and join us and be live online with Geraldine, or you can just join and ask questions in the chat, as I'll probably do it live. And so things are changing because I'm facilitating these sorts of groups with my friend David here on a Wednesday night in Sydney, and I'm also doing it with Sheila Seppi for the Wish Alliance, and so now I'll be doing it for the Inner Sanctum. So lots of work, and I'm just throwing it open to energy philanthropy. If you want to support me financially, that would be appreciated, but it's not mandatory. All right, I'm going. Thanks again for listening and watching. Love you all big time, and thanks for supporting the shows. Next year, 2022, here we come. Love you big time. Remember to check out the book Awakened by Death if you haven't already, and I'll see you again soon. Big love.